made it difficult for firefighters to battle this massive fire in southwest Houston. As you can see, heavy flames and smoke were shooting out of the roof. The fire started just before 11 o'clock this morning at Remington Park Apartments on South Rice at Glenmont.
That's where we find Local 2's Joel Eisenbaum live. Joel, was anyone hurt in that huge fire?
No, Lauren, bottom line is nobody was hurt, and that's saying something because this is a densely packed apartment complex just off 59 South Rice. I mean, on a good day, it is hard to battle a fire inside a place like this. But with the conditions they saw, hats off to these firefighters for keeping everyone safe.
At the Remington Park apartment complex not far from the Galleria on South Rice this morning about 11, a wind-whipped attic fire in one of the residential buildings at one point looked like it was going to get really nasty.
There was 3 firemen up there with a chainsaw, and that was pretty gnarly, man. They were completely surrounded by flames.
Those firefighters also made sure nobody was inside this quickly disintegrating 8-unit building. Everyone did get out safely, but the wind wouldn't give up, and at one point firefighters were forced to temporarily retreat.
We did go defensive because the breezeway area was beginning to collapse.
60 firefighters and 15 trucks worked on this calamity, and in the end kept it confined to a single building. No small task in conditions like these.
Now 5 hours after that initial call, you can see the firefighters are still on scene. I do understand the fire is out. They're just wrapping things up tonight, and we do have a cause. At least initially they believe it was some sort of electrical fault, possibly a lights coming from the ceiling down into the breezeway may have been the root of the problem. We're live on the southwest side tonight. I'm Joel Eisenbaum, KPRC Local 2.
All right, Joel, thank you.
We want to head out to Wharton County where there is some damage tonight.
That's right. Local 2's Mary Benton live there tonight where there's a big mess in one particular neighborhood. Mary.
Well, the rain is still falling, but the good news is the wind has calmed down because look what the wind did earlier. A very strong wind blew this shed from the neighbor's house into this yard. In fact, if you look all over this yard, you see there are falling trees. There's also a lot of other debris. That they say that this happened about 2:30 this afternoon. The residents were not home, but someone called them. When they got here, they were shocked to see all of this mess in their yard. You can see there's also some high water. They received a lot of rain here. There were very strong winds. As a result, many of the trees in their yard just simply snapped. They blew through the air, came to the backyard, and that shed came from a neighbor's home, broke a piece in the apart in the wind, and just fell here in the yard. But this is not the worst of it. And if you can take a look across the street, obviously a lot of people are coming to this area just to get a look at what is happening. There's debris that's all over this fence line, and this is debris that flew in from some of the other homes that are in this neighborhood here in Hungerford. And then take a look across this pasture, this field here. There is a big oak tree that snapped. It fell over into that home. It fell on the roof. We're told there's extensive damage there. We weren't able to get into that area because, as you can imagine, with all of the rain here today, there's a lot of mud. But just extensive damage here. The good news is that no one was hurt. Not every area was damaged. It's kind of spotty, but neighbors just point out that because of these strong winds, there's just pieces of debris like this, fallen trees, sheet metal, all kind of things in their yard, but everyone is just happy that no one was hurt. There's also a couple of shattered windows, but they say those things can be fixed. For Live, we are now in Hungerford. Mary Benton, KPRC Local 2.
Yeah, very thankful. No injuries there, Mary. Thank you so much for your report.
Now to a developing story in southeast Houston where a deadly home invasion has devastated a family and rattled the entire neighborhood. Investigators say a gunman broke into a home this afternoon and killed a young husband and father. Local 2's Bill Spencer is joining us live from that neighborhood. Bill, your reporting indicates this guy's still out there somewhere.
Bill, there are actually 3 killers on the run tonight. They are presumed armed and extremely dangerous. Police say about 12:45 today, they broke into the home of Miguel Hernandez, the home behind me. They attempted to rob him, ordered him to the ground, and then, according to a witness, shot him down at close range when he refused to do what they said.
He's a father, he's a husband, great father, always witty, happy.
loving family members overcome with unspeakable grief over the brutal murder of 27-year-old Miguel Hernandez, a young father, husband, and construction worker shot to death in his own Southeast Houston home today after 3 men broke in through a back door, ordered Hernandez and his sister-in-law to the floor, and demanded they turn over everything. The armed men ordered these 2 people to the ground?
No, they were demanding from the complainant, the decedent, give me the stuff, give me what you got.
And when he didn't comply, they shot him?
Well, there was a struggle that ensued, and when he didn't comply or didn't produce the stuff, if you will, they shot him.
Jasmine Jones has been close friends with Miguel for the last 5 years. She was with him only an hour before he was shot to death. She calls him a hard-working man, a good father, who had just moved to this home with the hopes of building a better life for his wife and his young daughter.
I am aching. I mean, I just cannot believe this. We're good friends. And I would never expect this in a million years.
Tonight, family members and loved ones are gathered outside the home. They are not allowed inside because this is an active crime scene. By the way, Miguel Hernandez has 1 6-year-old daughter. Today was her birthday. Reporting live, Bill Spencer, KPRC Local 2.
There was a massive marijuana field raid today, and it happened not far from neighborhoods full of families in Fort Bend County. Local 2's Sion Rhodes was there when that raid sent suspected growers running from deputies. Sion, this was a fairly sophisticated drug operation, I understand.
It certainly was, Bill, and they're still looking for those 2 suspects. More on that. Now, those 2 fields are deep across the Oyster River into those woods behind me. More on how we got to see them up close in just a minute. But the Fort Bend County Drug Task Force got a tip about this operation 2 months ago. Today, they moved in, breaking up what could be $1 million operation. A bumpy 1.5-mile ride through the woods, followed by a quick boat trip across Oyster Creek.
They'll pump the water out of here to hydrate their plants, which they need to do around every 48 hours.
And we found ourselves in the middle of a place a bunch of marijuana growers hoped deputies would never find.
Be careful. Yeah, we're going to walk up through here.
Fort Bend County Sheriff Troy Nails walked us through the growers' carefully hidden camp.
I was flying around for 3 hours this morning, and I was not able to pick this out. And I was 400 feet off the ground.
Investigators say the marijuana was well cared for with a sophisticated irrigation system and retention pond.
And you can see it took a lot of time and energy to have it lined, you know. And you can smell, they actually put some fertilizer and stuff in that water. You can actually smell it. Can you smell it?
Yeah, I can smell it. Members of the drug task force found 2 men living here Tuesday morning. The sheriff says the growers pointed a pellet gun at officers before running away.
So they got out of here very, very quickly and left everything behind.
The sheriff says each of these plants produces about 2.5 pounds of marijuana. That is then sold for $500 a pound, meaning each plant goes about $1,000 on the street.
This isn't corn. This is a cash cow for some, and should they be successful, there's a lot of marijuana in here, and they would have been very, very wealthy at the end of this. We ruined somebody's day today.
So the DEA is going to come in and harvest those plants and then destroy them. And they say that the search still on for those 2 suspects. Those men face felony drug charges if they are caught. We're live in Sugar Land tonight. Sion Rhodes, KPRC Local 2.
Sion, thank you. There was a wild shootout in the parking lot of a North Harris County Walmart. 2 women and 2 men who were wearing masks tried to rob an armored car whose guards were loading cash into an ATM. And as Local 2's Philip Mena reports, it's not the first time that this ATM has been hit.
FBI officials say there was a shootout this morning after 4 suspects began firing at an armed guard at this Chase Bank ATM. About 10:30 this morning, FBI officials say an armed guard was servicing this ATM at the Chase Bank off the North Freeway and West Road when he was ambushed by 2 men and 2 women masked and carrying guns.
Those armed robbers began shooting towards the armored car guards. One of the armed guards got out of the vehicle and began engaging those suspects back, fearing for their lives.
Investigators say the guards were able to hit the getaway car's back window as it sped away. This blue van carrying a woman and young girl was also hit by one of the flying bullets, but thankfully no one was hurt.
Because that's my bank right there. I kept my money there. It's really dangerous around here.
Meanwhile, several miles away, at the intersection of Hirsch and Kelly, investigators say Houston police officers spotted what they believed was the damaged getaway car.
But the individuals in the vehicle did match descriptions that were put out for the armed robbers in the robbery at this time.
Police handcuffed the 4 suspects and returned them to the crime scene. Last July, at this very same Chase Bank, there was also a robbery of an armored vehicle. No one was hurt in either incident. Reporting in North Houston, Philip Mena, KPRC Local 2.
Charges are still pending, but we're told the suspects likely will face charges of aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon. And the FBI tells us this is the 17th bank robbery in Harris County so far this year.
Raw sewage going into storm drains and then into Buffalo Bayou. These are startling accusations against an apartment complex that have now resulted in criminal charges. Families at this complex say they are just living in that filth.
Yeah, and now the people in charge there could be in serious trouble with the law. Local 2's Phil Archer is joining us live in West Houston with the story. Phil?
That's right. 2 felony pollution indictments handed down, made public today. They charge the company that runs these apartments with dumping raw sewage that allegedly wound up in Buffalo Bayou. The Monte Carlo apartments sit on what appears to be a clean, well-kept property, but residents like Crystal Poling say it hasn't always been so clean. In the last year, she says raw sewage sometimes covered this sidewalk.
It would come almost to where it come up to the door.
Her neighbor, Sarah McLemore, says she stopped letting her 3- and 4-year-old daughters use the sidewalk after seeing sewage and toilet paper standing on it.
So we don't let them walk around here, even when it's dried up, because they don't come to wash the pavement off after.
Last week, a Harris County grand jury indicted the management company that runs the Monte Carlo, Bridge Property Management. Prosecutors allege the company knowingly allowed sewage to flow into the storm drains and threw them into Buffalo Bayou more than once. Last January, investigators measured the pollution in the bayou at 1.7 million milligrams of harmful E. coli bacteria per liter of water. In April, it was worse, 2.7 million milligrams, enough to cause a fish kill. Along this part of the bayou, on an average day, E. coli pollution averages only between 100 and 5,500 milligrams per liter. The apartment's new manager says there was an incident last January before she was hired, that it was caused by children removing sewer caps, but she says the management took care of that.
Nothing's been brought to our attention other than, like I said, the periodic, oh, hey, the kids are over there and they took the sewer cap off, and so we'll go over there and get the kids, clean it up, put the sewer cap back on.
Manager Jerry Hampton told us she's had no complaints from health officials since she began running the complex last August. She said neither she nor company executives were aware those indictments were coming down. Sources tell Local 2 News that investigation is continuing. Reporting live in Southwest Houston, I'm Phil Archer, KPRC Local 2.
Okay, Phil.
Well, it was a gloomy day in Houston, but spirits were bright in downtown Houston at the annual AIDS Walk.
Thousands gathered at Sam Houston Park to walk and raise money for AIDS research. Local 2's Courtney Savala was in the crowd at the park this morning.
It was a cold and rainy Sunday, but that did not stop thousands from lacing up their shoes and walking a 5K.
I have been here when I remember there was 3,000 walkers.
Rocky Romero has seen this walk grow to more than 10,000. He has participated in the AIDS Walk for 20 years.
I know somebody who needs help, and I know that doing this is getting them that help.
So this is the gathering spot right before the race and also right after it. For 25 years, this race and walk has grown, and more importantly, the money raised stays right here in our community.
This benefits 10 other organizations besides AFH, so we really are serving all HIV/AIDS individuals in the city of Houston, and having this much support just means that this city has not forgotten.
The funds that participants raise support more than 100,000 Houstonians each year. Courtney Savala, KPRC Local 2.
According to the legend, Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil to become king of the Delta Blues. That's the legend. But when it comes to fact, not much is known about Johnson, except he died young at age 27, then became the role model for practically every guitarist who's come since. There were only 2 known photographs of him after his death in 1938. That is until 7 years ago when this picture surfaced, allegedly of Johnson and a friend.
And if you have the same eyelid.
But was it really Robert Johnson holding the guitar? The Johnson estate commissioned forensic artist Lois Gibson to figure it out. She helped solve more than 1,000 cases working with Houston police, and she was already a Johnson fan.
And then when you hear his songs, you know that they were covered by the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. See that the outside of the nose, the outside of the corner of the lips.
Lois compared the features of the face in the photos, and after considering the lighting, lens angle, age, and provenance, decided it was real, an historic treasure.
I was really excited, you know, my blues roots. It was very exciting.
Her analysis was good enough for the Johnson estate. They've accepted that third photograph as genuine, and since then, Lois believes she's found a fourth photograph of Robert Johnson drinking with friends. Apparently, it takes an artist to find an artist. Phil Archer, KPRC Local 2.